Have you ever noticed how some people seem to shift the entire atmosphere around them without uttering a single word? They don't raise their voices, they don't plead, they simply withdraw. And just like that, the energy changes. People grow uncertain. They question, they chase, they feel the void. Now imagine what would happen if you did the same. If you chose stillness over instant reaction, distance over emotional outbursts, how might the world around you respond? Here lies a quiet truth. When you stop offering your constant availability, emotionally, physically, mentally, the structures that once leaned on your predictability begin to tremble. Those who relied on controlling your impulses are forced to face an uncomfortable new reality. You are no longer theirs to manage. In psychology, it's understood that attachment behaviors are often shaped early in life. You were trained to be responsive, to anticipate the needs of others, to earn love through compliance. But when you disrupt that conditioning by choosing silence and boundary, everything changes. Those who thought they knew you realize they only knew the reflection you allowed them to see. In Buddhist wisdom, it's taught that suffering stems from clinging to people, to reactions, to images of ourselves. When you step back and refuse to react automatically, you cut these cords of attachment. The ones who grow desperate are not missing your true self. They are missing the role you played for their comfort. Neuroscience supports this deeply. Studies show that every time you react impulsively to external stimuli, a criticism, a provocation, an urgent demand, your amygdala lights up, triggering a stress response. You drain your limited reserves of mental energy called cognitive resources. Over time, this leaves you exhausted, anxious, and vulnerable to manipulation. You give fragments of yourself away, 100 small yeses you never wanted to give, countless justifications you never owed, apologies for simply existing as you are. And at the end of the day, what remains? A fatigue no rest can heal, a hollow space where your center should be. But here's the liberation. Your constant availability is not a virtue. It's a hidden prison. In Taoist philosophy, true strength lies in yielding like water, knowing when to advance and when to withdraw. Being always available turns you into a tool, not a person. Predictability breeds entitlement, and what is freely taken for granted loses its value. The world respects what it must earn. You've been taught to believe that responding instantly, showing up immediately, sacrificing your needs will eventually bring you love, loyalty, respect. It doesn't. Psychological studies on boundary setting reveal that people who maintain healthy emotional distance are more respected, more trusted, and more influential, precisely because they are not easily manipulated by external validation. It's easy to miss how deeply programmed we are. From childhood, the fear of being rejected taught us to perform. You became fluent in saying yes when you meant no, in smiling when you wanted to scream. You learned to wear masks and forgot where the mask ended and you began. But make no mistake, every time you betray your own needs to preserve someone else's comfort, you slowly erase yourself. Psychology teaches that self-abandonment breeds resentment, exhaustion, and eventually deep depression. Neuroscientific research echoes this. When you suppress your authentic emotions over time, the brain's default mode network, responsible for self-reflection and internal narratives, becomes hyperactive, leading to anxiety and overthinking. You are not exhausted because you are weak. You are exhausted because your energy has been leaking into relationships and situations that were never nourishing you, only consuming you. And when you finally set boundaries, when you finally choose silence over explanation, something miraculous happens. The manipulative games fall apart, the projections shatter, the false attachments dissolve. This is not cruelty, it's clarity. Wisdom traditions across the world, from Sufism to Stoicism, have long taught that true freedom comes from mastering your inner reactions, not the outer world. The Sufis call it fana, the annihilation of the false self to awaken the true essence. The Stoics remind us that freedom is the power to choose our response, regardless of external chaos. When you stop reacting to everything, you become unpredictable, and unpredictability terrifies those who once controlled you through emotional buttons. You'll see it clearly. Who gets angry when you stop responding? Who accuses you of being selfish when you choose peace over drama? Who tries to bait you into old patterns you have outgrown? These reactions say nothing about your worth. They reveal the dependency others had on your emotional labor. There is profound power in becoming inaccessible. Modern neuroscience reveals that when you conserve your mental energy instead of scattering it on emotional reactivity, your brain's prefrontal cortex, the seat of rationality, creativity, and strategic thinking, strengthens. You make better decisions. You respond with awareness instead of impulse. You become sovereign. In sacred traditions like Zen Buddhism, the greatest wisdom is said to come in silence, in the space between stimulus and response. When you sit with yourself in this sacred gap, the truth of your being rises. You see the manipulation games for what they are, desperate attempts to avoid facing one's own emptiness. Your silence forces others to confront their own internal noise. Not everyone will survive your awakening. Some will attack, accuse, dramatize. Others will quietly drift away. Let them. Because every time you resist the urge to explain yourself, to fix, to chase, you are healing generations of conditioning. You are reclaiming pieces of yourself that were scattered in your endless attempts to be enough for others. True transformation isn't loud. It's silent. It happens in the moments you refuse to betray yourself again. And yes, the silence will hurt at first. It will feel unnatural. You'll question yourself. You'll wonder if you're losing something precious. But stay with it. On the other side of that discomfort lies a strength so profound it feels almost sacred. Psychological resilience studies show that those who endure initial periods of emotional discomfort in boundary setting ultimately develop greater self-esteem, lower stress levels, and deeper, more authentic relationships. So the question now is simple. Are you willing to endure the temporary loneliness required for true freedom? In the end, you are not becoming cold. You are becoming whole. You are not losing people. You are losing illusions. You are not retreating from life. You are returning to yourself. Because beyond the silence, beyond the rupture, beyond the discomfort, something extraordinary is waiting for you, your true self, intact, powerful, radiant. I hope this journey has sparked new insights within you. If it has, I invite you to subscribe to Thinker's Journey and continue fueling your growth with inspiring content. Now let's dive even deeper and unlock more wisdom together. There comes a stage on the path of awakening where silence no longer feels like absence. It feels like presence. A presence so solid, so grounded, that no storm can uproot it. It begins subtly. You no longer rush to fill the awkward spaces. You no longer scramble to repair every discomfort. You no longer bleed yourself dry to be seen, understood, or loved. Psychologically, this is the moment when secure attachment to yourself is formed. You become your own anchor. You trust your perceptions more than external approval. The frantic hunger for validation, programmed into your nervous system since childhood, begins to dissolve. Neuroscience confirms when you consistently resist the old compulsions to explain, to justify, to defend, your brain rewires. The neural pathways of reactivity weaken. The prefrontal cortex, your seat of wisdom and foresight, grows stronger. You are not just thinking differently, you are becoming different. In psychology, it's understood that repeated emotional self-betrayal leads to learned helplessness, a state where you believe you are powerless to change your circumstances. You stop trying, you shrink, you settle. But when you begin to choose yourself, quietly, without fanfare, you reverse this internal paralysis. Each silent boundary, each withheld reaction, each refusal to play old games sends a new message through your body. I am no longer available for my own abandonment. At first, this reprogramming feels violent, like an internal civil war. Your limbic brains, the ancient center of fear and attachment, screams for you to go back, to please, to fix, to prove, but stay still. In neuroscience, this moment is called limbic friction, the resistance between old survival patterns and new conscious behavior. You must endure this friction long enough for the new wiring to take root. The old self must grieve its death. In Buddhist thought, there is the idea of the false refuge, the temporary comforts we cling to in fear, approval, attention, status, control. But every false refuge eventually collapses, and when it does, you're left with the only refuge that was ever real, your own awakened presence. This is why spiritual traditions emphasize solitude after awakening, not as isolation but as integration. In solitude, you learn to distinguish between the voices of conditioning and the whispers of your soul. Understand this: when you stop giving people the version of yourself designed to comfort them, many will see it as betrayal. They will call you selfish, cold, changed. They are right. You have changed. You are no longer sacrificing your inner peace to maintain outer illusions. From a psychological perspective, this shift triggers the extinction burst, a phenomenon where manipulative behaviors temporarily escalate when no longer rewarded. Those accustomed to your compliance will push harder, guilt-trip louder, lash out more viciously. This is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that the old system is dying, and systems do not die quietly. Reclaiming your soul is a journey of introspection and self-discovery. It requires courage to face your inner demons and the strength to overcome them. In this chapter, we will explore the steps to reclaim your soul and find peace within. The first step is to acknowledge the parts of yourself that you have neglected. Reflect on your past experiences and understand how they have shaped you. This process can be challenging, but it is essential for healing. Next, practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself and recognize that everyone makes mistakes. Forgive yourself for past actions and focus on the present moment. Finally, reconnect with your passions and interests. Engage in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. Surround yourself with positive influences and create a supportive environment. By following these steps, you can reclaim your soul and live a more authentic and fulfilling life. Remember, the journey is ongoing, and it is important to be patient with yourself. Embrace the process and trust that you are on the right path. In deep trauma work, healers speak of the critical choice point, the moment you must decide whether to abandon yourself again for temporary acceptance or withstand the loneliness of authenticity to reclaim your soul. It is one of the hardest choices you will ever make. It must be made many times, over and over, until your nervous system understands. We do not betray ourselves anymore. From a neuroscientific lens, Every act of self-loyalty strengthens your brain's ventromedial prefrontal cortex, responsible for self-worth, decision-making, and emotional resilience. You're literally rebuilding yourself at the molecular level. This is not just emotional work, this is neurological alchemy. And here's the deeper wisdom. True empowerment is not dominance, it is self-possession. Power is not the ability to control others, it is the ability to master yourself, to remain whole in the face of projections, demands, chaos. The Taoists call this Wu Wei, effortless action, movement rooted in alignment rather than force. The Stoics call it apatheia, freedom from being disturbed by external events. You will find that when you cease striving to be good enough for others, a shocking tranquility fills the space where anxiety once lived. It is not that the world becomes quieter, it is that your inner world no longer echoes every disturbance. But beware, freedom is expensive. You must be willing to lose everything not aligned with your true self. Attachments based on your previous self will crumble. Roles built on your compliance will disintegrate. Relationships that depended on your self-erasure will end. Let them. Their collapse is not your failure, it is your deliverance. Modern psychological models, especially internal family systems, IFS, teach that within you are many sub-personalities: the people-pleaser, the fixer, the peacekeeper, the abandoned child. These parts are not bad. They were survival strategies, but they must no longer rule you. They must bow before your awakened center. When you choose wholeness over approval, these fragmented parts of you begin to heal. They realize they are safe now, because you are no longer abandoning yourself for anyone. There will be loneliness, yes, a holy loneliness, the loneliness of no longer abandoning yourself to belong. But if you endure it, if you sit with the ache without numbing, running, or begging, you will find that it transforms into something vast and luminous. You will taste the first real belonging you have ever known, belonging to yourself. So here you are at the threshold. The door behind you is closing. The door ahead is silent, heavy, sacred. Few cross it. Most retreat to the familiarity of performance, approval, noise. But if you dare, if you walk forward in your naked authenticity, you will enter a life so astonishingly free, so deeply nourishing, so fiercely true, that the old life will seem like a dream you barely remember. And when you speak now, your words will carry the weight of mountains. When you act, your movements will carry the precision of rivers. When you love, it will be without fear, without bargain, without loss of self. This is the way of the untouchable, the sovereign, the free. The question remains, will you choose it? Thank you for walking this path with me. If today's reflection stirred something within you, I invite you to subscribe to Thinker's Journey, a space for seekers, dreamers, and those who dare to grow. Keep reaching inward and onward. Your journey has only just begun. A message to inspire by Thinker's Journey Tihan.